In the hills of Canaan, Jacob, son of Isaac and grandson of Abraham, finally found a place to call home. But even as his flocks grazed under the warm sun and his tents clustered in the valley below, a storm was brewing within his family, a storm of jealousy, dreams, and betrayal that would shatter everything he had built. The land may have been peaceful, but in Jacob's house, a dangerous story was about to unfold, and nothing would ever be the same. Among Jacob's 12 sons, none captured his heart like Joseph, the son of his beloved wife, Rachel. Joseph, a young man of 17, had a spirit full of curiosity and innocence, his face always lit by a smile. He had a quick wit and a charm that seemed to make everything he touched a little brighter. This was not lost on his father. In Jacob's old age, Joseph was a constant reminder of Rachel, the wife he had loved most deeply. This affection was not subtle, it was woven into every glance and word, and most notably, into a splendid, multicolored robe, a gift unlike any other that Jacob presented to his son. Its vibrant colors caught the sun and shimmered like a peacock's tail, making Joseph stand out among his brothers like a king among commoners. The brothers watched this favoritism with eyes that darkened like a storm gathering over the hills. They were the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, Jacob's other wives, and each felt the sting of being second best. It wasn't just the robe, though that was an insult that hung on Joseph's shoulders daily. It was the way their father's eyes lit up at the mere mention of Joseph's name. They could barely stand to look at him, let alone speak to him. Their words turned to ice when he came near, and in the deep of night, they spoke of their bitterness and anger in low, angry whispers. But Joseph, with the naive confidence of youth, did not understand the depth of their resentment. One day, he came running into the tent with a light in his eyes and a story on his lips. "Brothers, listen to this dream I had," he said, his excitement bubbling over. They stopped and stared at him, their faces unreadable masks. "We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field," he continued, "when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." The brothers exchanged dark looks. "Do you think you are to be our king?" One of them sneered, his voice low and menacing. "Will you rule over us?" Their words cut through the air like knives, and in that moment, Joseph felt a chill. The dream that had seemed so full of wonder now lay between them like a snake, coiled and hissing. Yet, even as the bitterness simmered, Joseph remained oblivious to the danger it posed. But the dreams did not stop. On another night, Joseph woke with another vision that filled him with awe. Eagerly, he shared it again, not just with his brothers but also with his father. "I had another dream," he said, his voice trembling with excitement. "This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." His father, Jacob, listened with furrowed brows. While he loved Joseph dearly, this dream seemed too bold, too outrageous. "What is this dream you had?" Jacob said sharply. "Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" The brothers' jealousy now flared into a dangerous rage. Yet Jacob, troubled though he was, kept the dream in mind, as if sensing there might be something more to it than mere youthful fantasy. As the days passed, the brothers took the flocks to graze near Shechem, away from their father's eyes, and more importantly, away from Joseph's dreaming. But Jacob, ever the doting father, grew concerned. "Joseph," he called one day, "go and see if all is well with your brothers and the flocks, and bring word back to me." Unaware of the simmering animosity that awaited him, Joseph nodded eagerly. "Very well," and set off from the valley of Hebron, the colorful robe fluttering around him like a flag of warning. Joseph traveled to Shechem, but his brothers were not there. As he wandered the fields, a man found him and asked, "What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied, a note of urgency in his voice. "Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man said. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" Thanking the man, Joseph continued his journey, unaware of the trap tightening around him. From a distance, his brothers saw the familiar silhouette approaching. The hated robe shimmered under the midday sun, a stark reminder of their father's favoritism. "Here comes that dreamer," one of them snarled. The words dripped with disdain. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these empty cisterns. We can say a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. But Reuben, the eldest, felt a twinge of conscience. "Let's not kill him," he urged. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." He planned to come back later and rescue Joseph, returning him safely to their father. His brothers, caught between their hatred and Reuben's plea, agreed. When Joseph reached them, his face lit with a smile, and the ambush began. Before he could greet them, they lunged at him, tearing the robe from his back, the vibrant colors falling into the dust. They dragged him to the cistern and, without mercy, threw him in. He hit the bottom with a thud, the wind knocked from his lungs, staring up at the walls too high to climb. After persuading his brothers not to kill Joseph, Reuben felt a small sense of relief. He had bought some time. Perhaps, he thought, there was still a way to fix this before it went too far. But with the brothers now sitting down to eat, Reuben decided to step away, perhaps to check on the flocks or to distance himself from their dark mutterings. He believed that Joseph would be safe in the cistern for a while and planned to return later to pull him out and take him back to their father. But while Reuben was away, the situation changed. As he walked further from the camp, Judah's gaze followed a caravan of Ishmaelites approaching on the horizon. "Look," he said, pointing to the horizon. A caravan of Ishmaelites, their camels laden with spices, balm, and myrrh, approached on their way to Egypt. Judah's eyes gleamed with a sudden idea. "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites instead. After all, he is our flesh and blood." The others nodded, and with cold resolve, they hauled Joseph out of the cistern. His pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears. They exchanged him for 20 shekels of silver, a brother's life for a pocketful of coins. The traders bound Joseph and led him away, his cries echoing long after he was gone, swallowed by the silence of the desert. When Reuben returned, his plan of rescue clear in his mind, he looked into the cistern and saw only emptiness. Panic gripped him. "The boy isn't there," he shouted, tearing his clothes in anguish. "Where can I turn now?" Desperate to conceal their deed, the brothers slaughtered a goat, dipped Joseph's robe in its blood, and brought it to their father. Jacob's face went pale as he held the blood-stained garment in his hands. "We found this," they lied. "Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." "It is my son's robe," Jacob wailed, his voice breaking. "A ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." He tore his clothes, his body shaking with grief, and donned sackcloth, mourning for days that stretched into nights, refusing all comfort. His sons and daughters tried to console him, but he would not be moved. "I will go down to the grave mourning for my son," he cried. And so Jacob wept, his heart shattered. Meanwhile, in a distant land, Joseph's fate was being rewritten. Sold into Egypt, he became the possession of Potiphar, a captain of Pharaoh's guard. Unbeknownst to him, this land of slavery would be the proving ground for his dreams, the very dreams that had once made him a target of hatred and betrayal. The story of Joseph was far from over. It was just beginning, and the dreams that had set it in motion were about to unfold in ways no one, not even Joseph himself, could have imagined. Subscribe to find out what happened to Joseph in Egypt.